I have a green button. Wow, someone changed my background. Surprise. One more time. That makes sense. So great. My name is Wei-Qi. Happy to be here. Talk about the phenotyping all the time. So phenotyping is quite an interesting, research topic. We have a terminology. Monica talked about, how to leverage the terminology, ICD diagnosis to organize different information together for high super phenotyping. And also, once we got the terminology, we can just people from different places can start working on talk about the same thing to organize a phenotyping algorithm. And also we have a common data model, so people can use that implement the algorithm across the different places. And also people quite hot topic is like natural language processing. I mentioned that, so you can just dig into the text and find more information. And now today I'm going to focus on a new toy, in our research area, which is a large language model. So what is a large language model? So clearly it's a super large. Actually, it's a huge. Think about the most advanced, large language model actually have billions of parameters. So the number actually is even larger than the number of neurons in the human brain. So think about that. It's super large. And also, this is a language model. It's a talk about it's just language. So people talk about actually it's trained by a huge amount of text. So the deliverable gonna be a huge network about words, or some people talk about the tokens. And if you project the large network into a 2D dimension, you'll probably see a picture like the left side. If you keep zooming in, you will see something like the right side. You can see that the man close to king and women close to queen. This is how people argue how the large language model can do the reasoning. Because if you talk about a man and a king, if you mention the women, so they're going to automatically, realize this is probably you're talking about a queen. This is how it works. Similar like the relationship between a toe, foot, finger, and head. So ChatGPT, ChatGPT is probably the most popular app using large language model right now. And what is the ChatGPT doing right now? So basically, ChatGPT doing is like your input is kind of like a sequence of words or tokens. Then the ChatGPT is going to predict what will be the next word looks like. So that's, simply speaking, that's what they're doing. Similar, like an example here is like the best thing about AI is its ability to do what? Then you can see that in this example, is the best probability probably is learn. And of course, if you keep doing that, that can generate some text like paragraphs or even a whole articles. And the tricky thing, I think, interesting for ChatGPT doing actually is because they don't want the answer to be the exactly the same all the time. So they randomly select from the top choices or the top probabilities. So in that case, you'll get a different answers every time. All right, so this is what I think is a very unique capability of a large language model or ChatGPT in my mind. So number one, this is a huge. Think about this. You don't have any human students or whatever your professors that can read all the material on the internet. That's impossible. But ChatGPT is trained by that. Think about that. That's just a huge advantage. Number two is a large language model so far proved that because it's a word token network embedding, so somehow they can understand the relationship among the words. That's called I call that understanding, but it's probably very different from or how human process the language, but somehow they can predict the contextual information. Number three, I think is super important. Is like you don't need to do coding anymore. This is super, super important. Think about it. I don't know how many people here can still remember, IBM, 82, 86, 83, 86. I still remember that I used that, typewriter. And I don't think that's a computer. That's just a, big calculator to me. But what really changed, I think is, wow, computer is really coming here, era is coming. It's like Microsoft released the Windows 95. That's amazing. So even my mom can, do something with a computer on that. That's really changed. It's similar. We talk about the AI, you know, but how many people can do, you know, download the Python package, you know, fine tune your model and train your model and do all those type of work. That's actually very technical. And it's a technology keep changing like the package. But remember ChatGPT, you don't need that. You just ask a question, they will answer you. You know, there's no coding required. And also another thing is like, I think it's very important is like, so far, many more literature suggests, you know, based on the zero or few shot, you can get a pretty good answer. Zero shot basically means you don't need to, you know, do anything, just ask. That's zero shot. And another thing is like, if you have a, you know, technical background, you know, you still have the advantage. You can fine tune the model using the RAG techniques to see if you can get a better performance. So that's what I think the ChatGPT is, or large language model is a very interesting topic. So, our large language model actually started probably like almost is last year around this time when ChatGPT first released. One of my students, Chao, and he approached me say, you know, Dr. Wei, I noticed Microsoft released a fancy tool called ChatGPT. I want to do something about that. And at the very beginning, I was just very skeptical. I don't know. Or I should say, you know, it's I'm not that, you know, optimistic about that new tool. You know, AI model has been there quite a while. There's so many different packages there. Word embedding has been there for a very, very long time. I said, okay, let me think about this. Then, you know, Monica was doing the she was doing the drug repurposing for Alzheimer projects there. And for us, the biggest challenge there is like, where's the hypothesis coming from? You know, you can try different things. So my lab is pretty good at doing, you know, EHR mining, those kind of stuff. But the problem is if we're using EHR to generate a hypothesis, where the validation coming from? That's a big challenge for us. So what we said is, okay, Chao, let's do this. Can you just ask ChatGPT, give me a list of drug repurposing candidates for Alzheimer's disease, see what happened there. So, actually, you know, after 10 minutes, he called me and said, Dr. Wei, I sent you an email. Can you take a look at this? And I checked the list. That's amazing list. It's like a statin hypertension drug, a few antibiotics, of course, SSRI, you know, medications are there. I said, wow, this is interesting. So I asked Chao and Monica work together, you know, to do this project. So this paper is has been published on Nature Digital Medicine. So so this is the overview of the whole study design. So we start with the ChatGPT. We ask the ChatGPT, give us the hypothesis, give us the drug candidates. Then the next step is like saying, you know, we won't stop there. We want the real world evidence. So we find the top 10 medications generated by ChatGPT. Then we go to two large EHR. One is Vanderbilt EHR. The other one is all of us. Then we do, you know, that's our unique capability to do, you know, propensity score, digging EHR features, do the comorbidity match, and do a survival analysis. And you can see the results here is quite interesting. You know, metformin is our top hits here and can be replicated by both, you know, Vanderbilt data and meta-analysis. And right now, I think metformin is on the trial 3. I think the results going to be out. Final result going to be out. I think it's 2028. So we have a few years to see what's going to happen on metformin. Losartan, that's another interesting signals there. Of course, using all of us data, we probably not be able to replicate everything. Some rare medications, antibiotics, we couldn't find any signals there. So that's the our first project about the large language model. And then I think it's wow, this is a potential going to be a very interesting tool for us. And my lab is doing phenotyping, so we said let's move on to see general phenotyping. What's going to happen? So so in this study. So our goal is that we want to evaluate the different large language model, not limited to ChatGPT. We're looking for different versions of ChatGPT. And also there's a Cloud 2 was there and the Google one, BART there. We want to compare the different performance. And we pick 3 different multiple phenotype algorithms. We pick type 2 diabetes, dementia, and hypothyroidism. We didn't compare that to, any pediatric phenotype. The reason is like, I think a pediatric, phenotype has been understudied. We don't have less of a gold standard pediatric phenotype algorithm available for us to compare. So this is a study design. So we compare ChatGPT-4, 3.5, Cloud 2, and BARD. And we ask those we ask those large language models to generate a SQL algorithm for each of the three diseases. And we have two different pair of two different evaluation strategies. One is we have a domain expert review the algorithm to see if it's reasonable or not, and how is this SQL reasonable, executable. And another thing is we implement the algorithm in our EHR and compare that with the eMERGE algorithm. The eMERGE algorithm for these three algorithms has been, very well, developed and institutional validated. So it looks pretty accurate based on the literatures. So that's our two strategy to evaluate the results. And here are the important observations. So the panel A basically shows, you can see that GPT-4 3.5 outperformed the Cloud 2 and the BARD. BARD is really bad, so we forget about that. And statistically, we don't see ChatGPT-4 and 3.5 are different. However, I can still, as my personal experience is based on the feature recognition, I still feel ChatGPT give you a slightly better performance. Just not as statistically significant. And the section D basically shows we have a manual review. We have a domain expert review the algorithm, manual review the algorithm. So we just give different score based on, if the ChatGPT, if the large language model follow the instruction to give you the SQL, algorithm. And another area we evaluate is if the SQL is really, executable results, and also is what do you think about the logic of the algorithm? And you can see very consistent, GPT are better than Cloud 2 and BARD. And panel B shows we try two different prompting strategies. One is like a zero shot. We just ask, give me an algorithm based on SQL, based on OMA model. The other one is here is an example from different disease, different study. And can you give me a similar example for, another different target phenotype? And you can see there's, two strategies looks very different. There's no big improvement. And of course, the C shows the difference of the score comparison across different algorithms, across the different phenotypes. You can see some studies has been very well studied. Type 2 diabetes has been their algorithm, I guess, probably like 10 or 20 different algorithms out there. So, and hyperthyroidism is there as well. And you can see the performance is better. I guess that's consistent with our knowledge, because large language model, they actually learn that, from the literature or internet materials. So this shows the feature that has been identified by different, large language model, and shared one, the column shared. That's the you can see that's the majority of the important features can be identified by both ChatGPT-4 and ChatGPT 3.5. Like the diagnosis, what lab tests they use, and the major medications. And of course, eMERGE, because the domain expert create a generated algorithm, we probably have some detailed codes that ChatGPT-4 or 3.5 just missed. And I think the very, very interesting thing to see actually here is like ChatGPT really can identify the labs and give us a normal range. And those normal range values is really accurate. To me, that's a surprise. But of course, 3.5 misidentified, 250.01 as inclusion criteria. We know that's a fault. That's type 1 diabetes. And somehow they learn the BMI is over 25 as a criteria. We don't blame that's that's a fault, because everybody knows type diabetes is strongly associated with BMI, just not a criteria. So so this is a performance. It's not surprised to see it's the performance like a bipolar. So it's like, you can either get a super nice recall or can get a super nice PPV. The reason is like, so far, larger model can only generate a very simple logic there. They can either just tell you, for example, for type 2 diabetes, they just say diagnosis and lab test and medication. In that case, you get a super nice PPV, but you lose lots of patients. Or they can say, some, larger model just give you medication or diagnosis or lab tests. In that case, you got a super nice recall, but you actually it's not accurate. That's the problem with the larger model at this stage. So in conclusion, I think it's, hopefully I can convince you that ChatGPT or larger language model is a really very promising tool for future, phenotyping. And ChatGPT 3.4 actually so far is the best, larger language model available for us to doing such a work. And clearly, I don't think, ChatGPT at this stage can give you close to final product. I think the ChatGPT is really can give you a very nice draft at this stage, and still, domain expert need to be involved into the process to refine the algorithm if you want to achieve, a research quality phenotyping algorithm. But I want to say, large language model can really save us time, because that's the part we spend tremendous time talking to different people, domain expert, to collect what information we need to incorporate into a model. But ChatGPT really can save us. I really, I'm surprised to see, ChatGPT really give us, very nice, feature selection, and very nice. I was surprised to see, they give me the lab values pretty accurate. So I'm gonna stop here, and I didn't do any work. This is the people doing the real work there. So thank you to them. Thank you.
Well, which I was looking forward to your talk. Very amazing. I think the lesson you learn, especially lab tests, that's the key. I love it. So a couple comments on the question as well. We actually tried ChatGPT quite a bit as well. Not necessarily in the phenotyping domain. I think we are interested in looking at the mechanisms of disease. For example, like, what are the preeclampsia risk factors? What are the genes for breast cancer chemo-resistant, right? So the problem we faced back then, though, was every time we asked ChatGPT, you ask them 10 times, they probably give you a different answer. So there's a randomness of what's happening when you engage with ChatGPT, because it's a generative model, it's random. Okay, so I want to hear your comments. That's number one. Secondly, I think because we are interested in a drug, right? So have you tried, say, you give a ChatGPT the drug and say what are side effects, and what are the subpopulation? Those are the kind of questions. Have you tried that?
Yeah. So it's great questions, research questions. So first of all, yes, every time you will get different answer, but remember this, that depends on how strong evidence the ChatGPT large language model observed through the large internet. For example, the drug repurposing project we observed actually is each time we ask a ChatGPT to generate the 10 different candidates, and you can see the top 5 are pretty consistent, metformin, losartan, that's pretty consistent. Then the rest of the 5 can be anywhere. That depends. But the research question there is like, are they true or false positive? I think that's the interesting question. It's like, so far we only validate the top 10 signals. But if we repeat asking that 100 times, we probably have a big number, tens of medications mentioned only once. Are they true signals or or false positive. I don't know, but I think that's a research question, worth explore and figure out what happened there. And second question is regarding side effects. I think the side effects, when we ask a statin, that looks pretty good. For example, like a statin, muscle pain, etc. That looks nice. We haven't tried any other things. And we haven't tried is like, what about the different race under different population? That thing I suspect may not be that accurate, but I'm happy to try and figure out what happened there.